Diane Lee Moomey is a poet and watercolorist living in Half Moon Bay, California, where she's co-host of the monthly virtual reading series Coastside Poetry. Much of Diane's work centers on love and friendship, as well as the interactions between humans and nature. In Sourdough, a memoir in progress, she looks back in time to influences that have shaped her present: childhood, early adulthood, the lives of parents and grandparents, the poets and writers of other eras. In addition to writing in open verse, she also loves composing sonnets, pantoums, villanelles, and in other forms. Diane's work has appeared in many anthologies and poetry journals and has won a few honors along the way. Her most recent collection, Make for Higher Ground, is available at www.barefootmuse.com. You can visit her at dianeleemoomeyart.com/poetry. Please welcome Diane Lee Moomey.
Thank you so much, Sandy, for that introduction. And I'd just like to say, if anyone would like one of my books and funds are an issue, send me a private chat and we'll work out a trade or something. So I'd like to begin with a few love poems. The first two are haibun. Pomegranate. Beneath the peel, seed syllables, rhyming stanzas, scarlet cantata. I was trying to remember exactly what you'd said today about the pomegranate and passion, how you fashioned your words, and whether it was you or another poet in the room who'd said pomegranate was the apple in the Garden of Eden, the crowned apple. No matter, for what you said about the pomegranate was so delightfully and passionately enchanting that as soon as the reading was over, I walked to the market and there they were. I searched through the basket for one that still had its crown and found that one, bought it, brought it home. It is neither too large nor too small, and is of a perfectly imperfect lumpy roundness, lumpiness almost bursting through the blushing redness of skin, oh my, with a hint of coppery green beneath. And look, starry pointed crown surrounds a flurry of seeds, almost too much to take in. I had to put it into a green glazed bowl where it will rest quietly while I ponder whether it could ever be eaten. Then I turned my attention back to you, who, after all, brought me to pomegranate in the first place. Slow dancing, not a good dancer at all left feet, but still. Slow dancing, not really dancers, 4 left feet, but still. All elbows and what to do with noses, with knees. Nearly midnight, and dancing to a rhapsody of their own making, musicians ever so slightly out of tune, off the beat. Each left foot dances to a different drummer, still dancing. And the haiku, feet, step, turn, step, turn. Neither notices if one treads on another. When all else fails, meditate. You sit still, eyes open, beads click, mantra runs, a soundless river just below your surface. Gardener passes by, blower set to high. In your deeper places, tectonic plates shift, cold meets warm front, weather sweeps unseen landscapes, weather, storms. Perhaps your roof is leaking. A few things will be lost. Still you sit, listening. Far below, on silent hinges, doors open, doors close as they are wont to do. Gears shift, pistons move in shafts. A few things will be found. Your car could use an oil change. Deep inside your earth, magma rivers change course. Old shorelines vanish. North poles now south. Cell phone chimes. A new text. Still you sit still. Keep the soundless river going. Keep listening. And the haiku. Inner chatter stops. You hear the whisper of breath, beat of your own heart. The next one is another kind of meditation. Broom. 1. Muckluck bottoms squeak on flakes new fallen and falling, so white, whiter than even the ice fog above them. Eye seeks the trail, too bright. 2. Rubber sandals grip asphalt, their cousin. A predatory ground fog walks up ravines between houses, swallows green and white signage, night's prologue. 3. Whiteout. Muffled noises from no direction merely confound other senses. Only the souls suggest the presence of solid ground. 4. Toes deep in sand, a sunless, foamy circle. Small as a thumbnail, crab shares the space. Two kindred alone in a mist world, so cold and so pale. 5. Bright screens buzz with news of foreign wars, home wars. Voices compete, contradict. The truth, if only that lay beneath my feet. The following pantoum is one of a series of poems that sprang from a single short mother poem, part of an email exchange with a friend several months ago. This one is the newest of the series, but the earliest in the storyline of that series. In it, my poet voice is addressing the me of more than a year ago. Runways. The towns you never think of twice while traveling from here to there. The myriad lives lived out of sight in urban sprawl, the shopping mall. While traveling from there to here, consider your runway well away from shopping mall and urban sprawl. Your wheels touch down, barely a bounce. Consider your runways well away from cities seen as if through glass. Your wheels touch down, barely a bounce on yellow arrows, bright concrete. Note cities seen as if through glass, through sultry haze beyond the fence, past yellow arrows, bright concrete. You've hours before you fly again. There's sultry haze beyond the fence. In towers, they're directing flights. You've hours before you fly again. Check rollaboard and boarding pass. In towers, they're directing flights. There's nothing more you need to do with rollaboard and boarding pass. There's time to have a drink or two. There's nothing more one needs to do. You've checked all messages today. There's time to have a think or two. So who might live beyond that haze? You've checked all messages today. Your mother's second cousin's son? Who else might live beyond that haze? A lover that you've never known. Your mother's second cousin's son in towns you never think of twice. The lover that you've never known midst myriad lives lived out of sight. This next one came from a couple poems I'd been stuck on for many years, which came together in response to an assignment to write a letter, an epistolatory poem to the divine. Breathing water. I know that we are one, you and me, and that in truth not so much as a hair's breadth of space lies between us. Still, how sweet it is to call you, you. Then I forget. I saw you once. You breached in front of me, breached and fluked and breached and dove again. I quit my job and at the tide line stood and called to you, calling, eating kelp. And then I thought I was buried deep in sand, invisible, calling out, find me, wade the shallows, find me, pierce my shells and string them, wear them for a necklace, always, please. And then I thought I was a winter lake. You'll come to me and crack this ice, melt this ice and drink up all the water, please. Make it you. It's meant for you. Find me, do. Finally, I found myself breathing water, chill and beautiful with iridescent scales and swimming in your ocean. Sometimes you spoke to me from inside my own mouth. Oh, then I remember. I know that we are one, you and me, and that in truth, not so much as a hair's breadth of space lies between us. Still, how sweet it is to call you, you. This next one is a love poem to my mother. Just lips, puckering, kissing, so often making no noise at all. Flint, Miami Lane, its tract houses, mazes made for hide and seeking, child play, children disappearing round the curves and angles, vanishing behind the small garages built by fathers. Our mother, wanting us, does not pursue or even holler after our elusive forms as do the other mothers. Our mother stands at her front door and purses her lips as if around an invisible tube and blows. She makes a piercing song. She makes of her lips a penny whistle. Yes, the littlest tune is what she whistles to call us home. A tune on a major scale. Do, la, fa, do, la, fa, la, fa, la, fa, la, fa. Across backyards we hear her. Across 3 streets we hear her. Wee-oo, 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 wee-oo. When the wind is right, we hear her, and we go running home because there will be soup or peanut butter and jelly. We climb cyclone fences between backyards and magically our home. We run because there might be cookies. Fresh lips, flesh lips, her lips, no color added. Later, teenager me gives lipstick to plain-lipped mother, brilliant color, gobsmacked red, the Maybelline I trace around my own lips. Mother wise, she puts it in a drawer, package still unopened, keeps on whistling, puckering, kissing, so often making no noise at all. This is another love poem. Coloratura. The man who hears hues visits a Sherwin-Williams store. You found it so intoxicating, the way the choir masters conducting in the paint department arrange as if in scales of diatonic, pentatonic, of supratonic glory, as if in chords of baritone, of bass and tenor, alto, soprano, with delicate modulation, in keys both major and minor, arrange with exquisite, deliberate, and possibly even loving precision those cardboard squares of color. The deepest indigo sweeps grandly heavenward until, diminishing by whispers, it disappears to almost white, with barely a spectrum hair's distinction between its hue and the shade of blue on the row that's nestled beside it, starting all over again and chiming all at once. Inebriating, you had to leave this symphony behind while you were still coherent, quickly choosing a card or two from every row, a humming handful, taking it home to plan. A scherzo for the entrance hall, G major for the bathroom walls. For bedroom, something even finer, a rhapsody in C sharp minor. In tall red grasses once I found a nest, not far from where we'd parked the Chevy. Twigs and stems were finely twined, a speckled egg was empty. I took a yellow feather, left the rest. Above my head, the grasses closed, and only traffic noises told the way. The way back, I lost the place, 20 paces west and 30 north. I supposed we'd all return this summer, or at least in fall. But I lost your speckled shell, your feathers, path, the chance to see you all, or 30 paces south and 20 east. Just the once in this entire life have I ever asked the gift of flight. Purling. A lazy morning in the beds. Oysters lie awaiting drifting plankton, shells agape. Comes a flounder flicking sand, and mollusk lips close too late, shut around the shards, cannot spit them out. Flotsam, jetsam lie atop the tongues. Years will pass. The rubble will be buried in a limey mantle, nascent pearl. the years, the nacre, core forgotten, a word, a look, a letter. In darkened rooms, our tides and currents, bivalves open, bivalves close, and purling simply happens, slow spheres, we oysters, wrapped around, soft around, dark around, and blind to our own pearls. I'm going to close with a couple very old ones that I love to read every once in a while. Saturday morning, east window, lightly glazed with snail trails, illuminates dust, crumbs, a week's debris, glitters on car keys beside the back door. Finches argue over the last of the Niger seed. Need I reply to these? Water is waiting. Water and the whitest of paper, thick and soft, as is the brush of dark hairs and round handle. Beside these, fresh pots of yellow, of red, of the bluest of blues, in which might be found the exact russet of the grosbeak's breast. Brushes are waiting. The sun in the east window gives light for this. When I am old, when I am very old, I shall live beside the Southern Ocean in a round house with seagrass for a door. I'll build it myself. I shall eat kelp. A gray cat will live with me, a very old gray cat. He will be indifferent to the seabirds that will walk on my skin. I shall lie at the water's edge each day and mark the new year by the return of gray whales from the north.